Hello there, Marcus the Cosmo Inventor here. In my last video about time, I explained to you what time was exactly, and that is change in velocity over acceleration. And to put that into some perspective, basically it's relative time. So I believe there is an absolute zero time which you can measure against, but that's maybe for another video. But what you can do is compare your velocity divided by acceleration compared to another body's velocity divided by acceleration and see whose time is going faster or slower. If the velocity over acceleration is small relatively, that means that you are slowing down time, and if your velocity over acceleration is large, that means that you're speeding up time. Now, I wanted to talk about the feasibility of having a remote, basically, that fast forwards or slows down your life. In my opinion, it's not possible. And to put that into some perspective, let's say it is possible, but it's impossible to come back. So what you could do is you could speed up time, go into the future, but as soon as you try to come back to the present moment relative to the other people, so like let's say you're in a rocket ship and you're going at super high let's say you're going at super high acceleration and you're slowing down time. Okay, so you're being able to, do 100 math problems while somebody else is still doing one math problem. So you slow down time in your rocket ship, but then you want to come back. Now, as long as you're staying in your rocket ship, you're going to be getting more done than somebody on Earth, say. But as soon as you want to come back and slow down, now instead of accelerating, you're decelerating. That makes your time negative. So what's happening is, now you're making up for all that time gained, you're losing it. You're losing all that gained time as you decelerate to come back down and sit next to your classmate in class. So what's happening is there's no net gain. And the other scary part is that if you're in this accelerating time frame and you try to communicate, say to your buddy, hey man, I got 100 math problems done, you're still on the first one, that message isn't going to get to him, because that message is going to be slow down, so that by the time he gets the message that you have 100 math problems done, he's also got 100 math problems done. So it's like you never really gained anything. I mean, you did in an absolute scale. If God were watching you, he would say that, okay, you got your math problems done first, but there's no other way to confirm that. So it's like you're in your own little world, and so everybody's on the same page, everybody's on the same playing field. You can't gain an advantage, you can't slow down time or speed it up. So that's the theory, is that if you're changing your acceleration to speed up or slow down time for yourself, it's not going to gain you anything in relation to anyone else. Because in order to interact with anyone else, by the time they receive your interaction, like let's say you come up with a patent, you're like, oh, I'm going to go on my spaceship and come up with a patent before anybody else does. And they're still writing slowly, and you're up in your spaceship, okay, done. You submit it to the U.S. Patent Office. By the time it gets to the U.S. Patent Office, that other person would have finished as well if he was working at the same rate as you. You can't gain any advantage by slowing down or speeding up time. You can do it, and in God's eyes, you're moving faster, and you're doing faster. But as soon as you want to come back to the place or even communicate with the place, you can't do it without also losing your time. So I'm going to get really conspiratorial here for a second, and something interesting was that whenever ETs are found, you know, like let's say crash spaceship or something. I mean, you don't have to believe this. This is definitely crazy. But I thought it was interesting that they said that the people, or that the aliens or whatever they find in there are always so weak. Like, oh, you know, just on the verge of death always when they find them. It's like, well, why? You know, why couldn't they, oh, hey, you know, be like, you know, why are they always on the verge of death? And, you know, you can say, well, it's just because the spaceship crashed and they got hurt, you know, but, well, it's not always the case, you know, like somebody, you know, gets hurt out, but they're still kind of like, okay, possibly, you know, I mean, why would every single alien be on the verge of death when they find them? You know, people say, well, you know, it was because of the atmosphere and they can't handle, blah, blah. Well, my theory is that they're moving around at high accelerations. Okay, so they're living their life at high accelerations, and if they crash down and they decelerate, what that means is that the time is going to catch up with them. So, you know, as soon as they decelerate massively, time speeds up really fast. So then they age ultra fast. So basically, like, let's say they you know, they're accelerating, they're living their life normally, they're a 40-year-old alien, blah, blah. Now they massively decelerate as they crash through the atmosphere or whatever, or, you know, they crash into the Earth, you know, super fast deceleration. Now they age super fast. Time just goes, time just zips by. And by the time they're stopped and people find them, they're like 80-year-old aliens, for example. So anyway, that's the theory that you can't time travel, you can't slow down time, you can't speed up time. Well, you can, according to the equation of time. Time equals velocity over acceleration. So you can have a faster time scale than somebody else. But the fact is that you can't get ahead because, or get behind, you know, because just the way the interactions work, the way that communication travels, the way that if you want to ever rejoin them, you're going to have to lose what you gained, is basically the way it goes. Alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye.